What up, y'all? I want to talk about the failure of FBI on 9/11. I want to talk about it. This is C4CW casting 495 celebrities worldwide. If you're a fan of this show, like a true fucking fan, then you ought to know that we 495 most certainly appreciate chill. So that's chill. So look, man, in all fucking seriousness, man, I think some people overthink what happened on 9/11. Now, as a researcher analyst, someone who's college educated, and someone who's worked in government, that is with the U.S. intelligence community as a civilian contractor, paid handsomely and dearly for my services. Listen, man, I know a thing or two. I don't know every fucking thing, obviously. I'm not omnipotent, omniscient. I do know a thing or two. And I think what happened, man, is that when 9/11 occurred, people, for whatever reason, they wanted to overthink, overanalyze. That happens in the analytic process. People tend to overthink things and overanalyze shit. 9/11's fucking pretty straightforward. So, to dispel any myths, rumors, conspiracy theories, Israel was not involved. There is no Mossad involvement. The notion that Mossad was involved is fucking pure lunacy, man. Absolutely ludicrous, crazy shit. There's no fucking way Israel was involved in 9/11. The reason that notion pops up anywhere is that originally there were folks who themselves are anti-America and anti-Israel, and they rejoiced when America was attacked on 9/11. They rejoiced, man. They were fucking pleased as punch. Oh, they were elated and happy as shit. In fact, where I was on the West Coast when it happened, near Seattle, there was a dude out in an apartment complex. He was saying Allahu Akbar over and over again, man. Like man, because he was fucking happy. And the property manager dude, because he had the dude that was like Allahu Akbar over and over again outside, like saying it like, yes, praise Allah, this and that. I was looking at this motherfucker like, dude, for real? Like seriously? The planes had just crashed, man. And this is a fucking honest to God true account, man. Like, this shit is legit. So he used to sit in this apartment complex, man, and he'd have his door like slightly ajar, and he was sitting in front of his laptop. Like, I could always see his ass on the laptop and shit. And now keep in mind, man, I was in college at the time, and I had lived on campus in the dorms. And so then at some point, I had an invite, to fucking move off campus. And I lived with some Japanese international students. I always paid my rent on time. I was always legit. And so after I lived with my college roommate buddy and his fiance at the time, because he was like, yo, bro, what are you doing living in the dorms, man? You trying to move off campus? And I was like, I mean, I'm here in the dorms. And he's like, yo, man, my fiance and I, man, shit, we got a spare room, man. Like, shit, if you want to move in, man, we could use some help with some rent, man. And so, man, I paid my rent on fucking time every month for like 2 years. So she ended up moving, and he did as well, because she finished her degree at the University of Washington, and then went back to visit in Japan, her family, and then came back to the States. The two of them, sadly, they separated at some point, and he went on to Montana. So when they left, one of their buddies across her, because she's from Japan, her buddy across the street, literally across the street from us, he was also at the University of Washington, and she was like, hey, such and such, his roommate is leaving to go back to Japan, and he's still, the guy that I'm referring to, not the one that's going back to Japan, but the one who's going to be staying for the next couple of years, man, he needs a roommate. And you've been such a good roommate with us. Do you want to move in? We can make the introduction. And it's right across the street. And I was like, okay. So I ended up living across the street for 2 years. So I was there for 4 years between those two different apartment complexes. Because quite frankly, man, living in the dorms, my dorm mates at the time, they're fucking pieces of shit. They're fucking stupid assholes, man. They never cleaned. They never did shit, man. They had diplomatic immunity. Their parents were government from a foreign nation, and they were fucking piece of shit assholes, man. They never lifted a finger. Never one fucking time. They'd have parties, and they thought I was some kind of fucking slave. What's interesting, man, is they're from Africa. I'm like, yo, I'm not picking up your guys' shit, man. Like, I've been really kind for, like, the first, like, couple of weeks, man, just keeping shit clean. But I've noticed that y'all motherfuckers never clean any... Man, they never took out a trash bag. They never took out the trash. They never fucking cleaned dishes. Nah, man. Nah. And, man, anyway, man, fuck them, man. So the point is, those dudes were fucking dirty punks, man. Just some wannabe, wannabe fucking princes. They weren't royalty. They thought that they fucking were. And they were just doing hella scandalous shit, man. I could give a dissertation about what these motherfuckers did. These dudes were involved in some fucked up shit. And they were criminals, and they were not good fucking people. And they did that shit because they had diplomatic immunity, man. And they were doing shit they thought on the radar. And they were doing hella illegal shit, like high-level shit. Like trying to break into state databases and everything. Like fucked up shit, man. So there was a lot of that shit going on, man, in the Pacific Northwest. You had motherfuckers doing shit like that, man, from foreign nations as students. And, just coming to America and not giving a fuck about America. Coming to America with the intent to fuck up America type shit. I'm talking about some serious shit, man. I'm talking about foreign and domestic terrorism type shit. So, because they would cooperate with people who were here, stateside. Look, man, those dudes were involved in some really fucking shady shit. And they never cleaned their own fucking habitat because they expected everyone else to do it. I'm talking about these dudes never pushed a broom. These dudes would fucking smoke shisha out of the hookah, and they would never clean down the surface. Man, these motherfuckers never did anything. They never vacuumed. They never wiped down countertops. They never fucking cleaned their own dishes. They expected everyone to do shit for them. I'm talking they didn't do it one fucking time. They straight moved in, and they thought that there was like a maid service, man. They thought that there was housekeeping and shit. They thought when the house was getting clean that someone was coming from outside doing it, man. I was the one doing it. So at some point, man, because I'm a clean dude. So at some point I told them, man, hey, man, check this out, man. You guys need to do your part. And then they wanted to be all perturbed and shit. And I was like, oh, so you guys aren't going to clean? I said, man, check this out. I'm not going to clean anything anymore either, man. Fuck you motherfuckers. And I'm going to move up out of here. And I did. And those dudes got into some shit, man. Those dudes got into some motherfucking shit. And, yeah, man. So check this out. That was leading up to 9/11. That was, man, that was almost 9/11. So I'm seeing this shit go on. There was another dude in the Seattle area. You can look up his name and see the type of shit that motherfucker was doing. His name was and is James Ujama. Look up James Ujama, Seattle, FBI, terrorism. Look that shit up, man. You want to see what was going on where I was, man, back in the fucking day? Check out what that dude was doing. James Ujama, Seattle, FBI, terrorism. Shit'll pop right up on the internet. You'll be like, damn, Grove, you were in that area when this shit was going on? You fucking right I was. He wasn't the only dude out there. Man, there was a dude that tried to bring nitro, I'm talking about explosives, onto a ferry. You know, like a ferry that goes across the water? I'm talking about nitro, man, to blow up some shit. There are all kinds of plots, man. There are all kinds of shady motherfuckers out there, man, trying to do some terrorist shit that y'all probably didn't even fucking know about or hear about. That shit was going on in the Seattle area, man. So there are people who the FBI and counterterrorism community was concerned that someone might target the Seattle Space Needle and shit. Man, there's all kinds of shit going on, man. Motherfuckers coming across borders and shit, coming down through Canada, all, man, from different countries, all kinds of shit. There, you got cartels out there. You know what I'm saying? You got the whole, heroin trade and shit that comes in. You know what I'm saying? From different countries. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, man. So look. By the way, man, some of y'all don't know that the movie Traffic, you don't know that there's a sequel to Traffic. Like, when I tell people, I'm like, yo, man, you ever seen the sequel to Traffic? They're like, come on, bro, there's no sequel to the movie Traffic. And I'm like, yeah, there actually is. A lot of people didn't even know that there was a sequel made to the movie Traffic. And even to this day, like, if you know what I'm talking about the movie Traffic, the first one, if you know someone who's seen Traffic and you ask them, hey, man, did you ever see part 2 to Traffic? They're like, what? What? You know, and then you're like, yeah, you know the movie Traffic, like, you know, Traffic, where it's all the war on drugs and shit. Kids are doing drugs, rich kids fucking doing drugs, and politicians doing drugs, and smugglers bringing in drugs, like all these people involved, police and law enforcement, federal agents involved in the drug war. You know that movie Traffic? They're like, yeah, dude, yeah, I've seen that movie. Okay, well, have you seen the sequel? They're like, there's no sequel to Traffic. And you're like, yeah, there is. Dude, the second fucking movie, the sequel, when I saw that, I was like, yo, is this really the sequel to Traffic? Because I was like, this can't be a sequel to Traffic. Like, I would have heard of this shit. And it just happened to be on some station, I can't remember, some channel, some shit. And I watched it, and I was like, man, if this is in fact a sequel to the movie Traffic, which I know fucking 99% of the people I know thousands of people, ain't nobody heard of this shit. That shit came on like one night, and I was like, yo, this is gonna be hella stupid, man. How could they have made a sequel to the movie Traffic? That just doesn't even make any sense. Like, this is gonna be one of those things where they should have never made this shit. I was wrong. That movie was fucking dope. The sequel to Traffic is not a bad movie. It's actually fucking great. So, like I said, a lot of people don't know about the movie, about the sequel to Traffic. Let me just look up. Hold on. Heroin, Afghanistan. Let me see, hold up. Afghanistan. Alright, let's see. Alright. Quote, how the heroin trade explains the U.S.-UK failure in Afghanistan. Alright, that's The Guardian. Next one down, Afghanistan's booming heroin trade leaves trail of addiction at home. Okay, that's also The Guardian. And from 16 November 2017, it says, quote, with the country's opium production rising by 87% on last year. So look, man, Afghanistan, opium, okay, heroin. How does heroin get into Seattle? Heroin shipped, no, not the Berlin Wall, fucking Google. Heroin, fucking stupid ass Google. Okay, heroin smuggled into Seattle. You see how I be conducting the counterterrorism shit? Heroin smuggled into Seattle. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know about this shit, man. They really fucking don't. It even says right here, KUOW. Where do the drugs that arrive on Seattle streets come from? You see what I'm saying? A lot of people don't even fucking know. They just be on heroin and they have no idea that this shit comes from Afghanistan, some of it. You know what I'm saying? Man, open source intelligence, man. Traffic, the sequel. You see what I'm saying? You gotta be plugged in to sources of information. You know what I'm saying? There's so much shit going on in the world. So, I'm saying, and then says right here, Department of Justice overview, Washington Drug Threat Assessment, Department of Justice. A lot of people don't know that Washington State is part of the HIDTA, HIDTA, which is the high intensity drug trafficking area, because, man, it comes right up the coast and it goes right down the coast. You got shit coming in from Canada, you got shit coming in from Mexico, going up the coast and down the coast. Interstate 5 corridor, man, I-5. Okay, so you got U.S.-Alaska highway system. So you can go all the way up the highway and then all the way down, man, to the Panama Canal. A lot of people don't know that shit. They don't know you can fucking go all the way down to the Panama Canal. So now check this out. It says right here from 2003, quote, the state of Washington ranks 15th in population with nearly 5.9 million residents. Approximately one half of the state's population is concentrated in King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties, all of which are adjacent to Puget Sound. In 2000, Washington had a higher percentage of Caucasian, 81.8%, Asian 5.5%, and American Indian 1.6%. Shout outs to my native homies. And American Indian, okay, 1.6. We just said that. Residents, then the national percentages, and a lower percentage of African American, 3.2, and Hispanic, 7.5% residents. And that's true, man, because I'm out here on the East Coast. A lot of black African American folks out here. Seattle area, not as many. I'm just saying, man, Seattle is pretty white Caucasian, man. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's the demographics out there. So it goes on to say, Washington's topography, excuse me, hold on, let me turn this AC down. It says Washington's topography and location render it susceptible to drug smuggling and production. The Washington section of the U.S.-Canada border is approximately 430 miles in length. Think about that shit. A significant portion of which is vast, dense forest. Several waterways also are present on the border. The border has 13 official ports of entry, POEs, but the rest of the border is largely unpatrolled. Wow. I've already read this. I already know this. I had actually flirted with the idea of becoming a Border Patrol agent when I was fresh out of high school going into college. So I already know this shit. I just want to share it with y'all. So again, the border has 13 official ports of entry, but the rest of the border is largely unpatrolled. So we're talking about, man, what did they say? 430 miles in length. 13 ports, right? Most of it unpatrolled. Wow. Hockey bags filled with Canadian bud. Just saying. Just saying. Drug smugglers exploit the national parks and forests, as well as other forest lands and waterways adjacent to the border, to smuggle drugs into Washington. In fiscal year 2000, U.S. Border Patrol agents, so this is almost 20 years ago, U.S. Border Patrol, and I was going back and forth across the border at that time, U.S. Border Patrol agents at Blaine and Spokane sectors seized almost 5,000 pounds of marijuana, accounting for nearly 70% of all marijuana seized at the U.S.-Canada border, accounting for nearly, so 5,000 pounds of marijuana, Mary Jane, accounting for nearly 70% of all marijuana seized at the U.S.-Canada border during that year. Drug producers also used the vast national parks and forests, primarily those in western Washington, to cultivate cannabis and operate methamphetamine laboratories. In Washington, man, they've had the mega labs. I'm talking like the labs that are like buried underground and shit. Motherfuckers will go out and they'll buy a bunch of, or get at auction or however they acquire, get a bunch of school buses and they'll bury that shit underground, a bunch of school buses underground, and they'll use that shit as a clandestine meth lab and shit. And what this one dude was telling me was that's because the feds fly overhead, and they use infrared and they scan, and they can see the heat signature of the different operations. So for marijuana, that is the Mary Jane, and the weeds, and also the meth labs. So it says Washington is a distribution center for both licit and illicit commodities in the Northwest, due largely to its geographic location, bordered by Canada and the Pacific Ocean, and its multifaceted transportation infrastructure. Private vehicles, boats, and commercial trucks are frequently used to smuggle drugs into Washington and transport drugs into and through the state. Couriers on commercial and private aircraft, commercial buses, and passenger rail cars are also used by traffickers, but to a lesser extent. Drug transporters primarily use Interstate 5. Your boy Grove, if you're a fucking fan, I'm your boy. Didn't I just say Interstate 5? Come on, man. In fact, the rapper YC1 Young Chili, who I grew up with and who I introduced to the label and put out, you know what I'm saying, on the market as executive producer myself and founder of the label, he got a rap called Interstate 5 I-5. So it's like, I'm sliding down I-5. Yeah, I'm just saying, man. Drug transporters primarily use Interstates 5, 90, and 82, as well as U.S. Highways 2, 12, 97, 101, and 395 to transport drugs into and through Washington. I-5, the principal north-south highway on the West Coast, extends from the U.S.-Canada border near Blaine to the U.S.-Mexico border near San Isidro, California. I-90, the primary east-west highway in Washington, connects Seattle with Spokane and extends to Chicago. Used to live in Chicago. I-82, which extends from central Washington through Yakima. Man, they call Yakima Yaktown. Because yak, for those of y'all who are not in the United States and who do not know the vernacular, the lingo, the lingua franca, what that type of colloquial expression type shit right there is, yak is a reference to cocaine. Yak. So Yakima, which is named after the tribal group there. Yakima is considered among folks to be a dope town. Like there's dope in Yak, because a lot of Black African Americans and other drug dealers, they'll connect with the Hispanic gangs, and that's where they get their Coke. That's where they get their Coca-Cola, the cocoa. And yeah, man, so Yaktown in the past, man, has been considered fucking extremely dangerous. Like, Yakima is fucking dangerous. Like, motherfuckers be strapped up out in Yak, because motherfuckers be holding weight out there. You know what I'm saying? And that's in the eastern part of Washington State. That's across the desert. Like, you got to go through the mountain pass and shit. You know what I'm saying? In the eastern part of Washington State, people talk about Seattle. Motherfuckers who don't know shit about Washington State, the other side of Washington State is a desert. You understand what I'm saying? Like, people hear Seattle, they think the whole shit's green. Nah, man. Check game. Look at a map. Geospatial intelligence information. Man, I lived in that fucking desert. I was over in the Tri-Cities, man. They have Richland, Kennewick, and Pasco. And I was also in Wenatchee. Wenatchee was cool. You know what I'm saying? Over out there in the vicinity of Lake Chelan. You know what I'm saying? They got the Snake River that runs through there. Your boy Grove, man, I used to train, man. I used to CrossFit train. I'd be up in the hills. I just throw on a backpack, no shirt. Man, it'd be blazing fucking hot, over 100 and shit. And it's dry desert heat. Man, I just be out there, man, on some hydration. I just get all hydrated up, hit some whey protein and shit. And I just be running up in the fucking foothills where they got the microwave relay stations and shit for communications. So, any fucking who, I've lived in the mountains and the desert. So out there, man, down the road, so to speak, from Wenatchee is Yakima. Yakima's no joke, man. Yakima's a fucking hella dangerous place. Hella dangerous. Motherfuckers be strapped up out there, man, holding hella dope. I'm talking about Mexican-American gangs, man. And other gangs. A lot of motherfuckers out there, a lot of dope in Yaktown. And man, if a motherfucker ain't got their shit straight and they be trying to do business with them cats out there, it's curtains, bruh. So, some people from out of state, man, and out of town, they try to go out to Yakima, man, and they try to do business out there. Shit don't end up well, though. So back to what it was saying. So, I-90, the primary east-west highway in Washington, connects Seattle with Spokane. Spokane. Some people call Spokane Smokane. Okay, even though it's Spokane, and some people might, who, if they're unfamiliar with it, they want to pronounce it Spokane. It's really Spokane. So keep in mind, Washington State, a lot of the cities and towns are named after tribal groups. American, Native, Indigenous tribal groups. Native Americans. So Spokane, some people, man, because of the dope in Spokane, they call it smokane, like you're smoking cocaine. All right? And it says connects Seattle with Spokane and extends to Chicago. I went to school in Spokane in an IT program for a couple of years. So Spokane and extends to Chicago. I-82, which extends from central Washington through Yakima and the Tri-City area, Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland. Didn't I just say that? It's the Tri-City area. So from central Washington through Yakima and the Tri-City area, Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland. Hella dope. I'm not saying dope is in a good way. I'm saying hella fucking cocaine. That shit is straight fucking perilous. Alright? Pasco is a trip. That town is weird. Like, it looks like a little small town, man. At least when I was out over yonder, it looks like a little town with pretty much nothing in it. Like some old out west, like old west saloon type shit with boarded up windows in parts. Yo, nigga, don't get caught lacking. Man, you know why the X-Files takes place in Washington State? You know why the X-Files, the TV show, you know why that shit takes place in Washington State? You got two different things. You got drug smugglers, drug cartels, drug barons, robber barons, motherfuckers that rob other drug dealers. You got fucking, man, drug trafficking up the yin-yang. North of California, man, don't get shit twisted, man. Just go online and look up the video on YouTube the documentary titled Seattle is Dying. Go to YouTube and find the documentary titled Seattle is Dying. Within the first few minutes of that shit, when you see an aerial view of Seattle, man, Seattle probably ain't what you think it is, because whatever you thought Seattle was, it ain't no more. Huh. Wow. Talk about parallel universes. That ain't the Seattle that I know, bro. Bro. Yo. That shit ain't even fucking cool. Like, wow. They say, listen, this is how numbers fluctuate in the real world matrix. I remember when the Emerald City was fucking fresh. When it was so clean, so jet set, so fucking ultra modern. It was so squeaky clean. Like, you could go to the Seattle Center and that shit was tight as fuck. I used to love going to the Seattle Center when I was a kid on field trips from my school district. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like being like in a futuristic movie, like you're on Jupiter or Mars or some shit. Man, Seattle was so fucking dope back in the day. Now, Seattle's strung out on fucking dope. Yo, so check it out. Seattle is the second most dangerous place in America for property crimes now. Dude, Seattle? If you don't fucking believe me, watch the documentary on Google that you can watch for free titled Seattle is Dying. So let's move some hundreds of miles across the border. Oh, I'm sorry. Across the state is what I'm saying. Let's move some hundreds of miles from Seattle. Seattle's right on the coast. Let's go inland. And let's go out to the east. Boom. Now you're in the fucking desert. You went across the mountain pass, Stevens Pass. Boom. Now you're in the fucking desert. It opens up. You're in eastern Washington. There's hella fucking dope in the state of Washington. Not in a good way, in a bad way. Did y'all niggas not just motherfucking hear what I said? Seattle is now, at the time of this recording, considered the second most dangerous city in America for property crimes. How the fuck did that shit get to be? Not LA, not, you know what I'm saying, Memphis, Tennessee, not fucking, you know what I'm saying, Chicago, not New York. We're talking about Seattle, Washington. Mandela effect, hello. So check this shit out, man. Listen, putting it into perspective for y'all, because I work with big data, all right? Some people live in their little microcosm, and they're not even aware of the macro level of reality, all right? So in contrast, in juxtaposition, we're analyzing the two. Those who live in their microcosm and those who live outside that reality of the smaller world, and they know about the bigger world, okay, the bigger picture. So putting it into perspective, we're looking at Eastern Washington right now. In the state of Washington, you have drug smugglers, drug runners, drug cartels. I said cartels. You also have fucking drug gangs, like street gangs, and that have come up from California, that have come from Canada. Man, don't think Canada doesn't have gangs too, man. And from all over the United States, because at some point, like I've talked about before, if y'all have followed my podcast, for those of you who are just tuning in, and for those of you who do know already, the city that I'm from, the EVT, the city that I'm from, in that city that I'm from, there was a time when crack cocaine sold for more, that is profit-wise, the profit margin was larger, than anywhere in America for that particular year. In other words, crack cocaine was selling for more. There was more profit to be made in the city that I come from than any fucking where else in America at the time. Anywhere. More than DC, Washington, DC, more than New York, more than Texas, Houston, Dallas, more than Memphis, like I said, more than Chicago, Illinois, more than fucking Louisiana, Georgia, Atlanta. You fucking name it, man. California, the whole state of California with 40 million people. Okay? The place where I'm from, man, the little town that I'm from, less than 100,000 people, crack cocaine was selling for more in my town than anywhere else. That brought gangs from all over, man. Man, don't think gangs don't read the newspaper, man. Sophisticated gangs, they operate like corporations, just in case y'all didn't know that shit. They have strict rules of conduct. And they operate as a business, as an illegal business enterprise. With chiefs and everything, man. Board of directors, man. They got fucking rules. And, man, look. So check this out. So I-82, which extends from central Washington through Yakima, because the only other thing out there, man, other than the residents in those towns, is government installations, government bases, both not secret and secret. It's a lot of secret shit over in the desert of Eastern Washington, man. A lot of government military facilities, bases. There's some NSA shit over there. There's a place called the Yakima Firing Center. It's called the Yakima Firing Center. And they say that it's a military base, but I know what the fuck it really is. Yeah, ostensibly, on the surface, there's a military contingent there. Yeah, there's some army shit that goes on there, but I know what it really is. So a lot of secret shit, man, in the state of Washington, above ground and below ground. You know, you go to a little town like Pasco, you look around, you probably be like, man, is there even anybody in this fucking town? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the way it looked when I was there, man. I mean, I'm talking about like some little dust whips. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just be like, ain't nobody here. What the fuck kind of shit? You're like, oh, that was past. Like, we just drove by it and zip, it's gone. Like, that's how small that shit is. All right? But yo, don't get caught lacking out there, man. Hey, man, what do they say? What's that movie? The Hills Have Eyes. The Hills Have Eyes. You best believe that shit is on motherfucking surveillance. You best believe, man, that shit is watched like a hawk. Man, motherfuckers got some eagle eyes out there. Government surveillance and cartel surveillance. And I'm keeping it fucking real in all them towns, man. They got everything out there. FBI, DEA, Secret fucking Service, U.S. military, NSA, CIA, man, they got it all. Man, shit. You hear about Seattle? You don't know about Eastern Washington. Come on, man. You don't know that half the state of Washington is a fucking desert and mountains? Shit. So check this out. Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland connects I-90 to I-84, a major interstate in northern Oregon. Shit be popping out in Oregon, too. Shit. Shit be popping in Idaho, too. Motherfuckers don't know that. Shit. Boise? What? Y'all thought motherfucking Idaho wasn't doing nothing. Man, guess again, shit be popping. So check this out. I mean, look, man, California drug dealers, they had to go somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So they expanded outward. Back in the 1980s, into the 90s, they had all that drug money. Shit, you already know they're going north. Some of them went south of Mexico. Some of them came up the fucking coast, man, all the way up into Canada. So you pick any state on the way up the map, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, shit, man, you name it, man. Shit be popping. So check this out, and I'm not saying in a good way. So I-84, a major interstate in northern Oregon, US 2, the number 2, numeral 2. Also known as the High Line. What a coincidence. Connects I-5 in Everett, the EVT, in Everett with I-90. So you can see right there, boom, connect up, connect 4. Y'all don't know about Connect 4, do you? Unless you're from my generation, you probably have no idea. What's Connect 4, Grove? Google it. It's a game. It's an old board game. And yeah, the EVT, man, Everett, with I-90 in Spokane and extends to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Now we talking about the Midwest. All right, US 12 extends from Aberdeen. That's down in the area where Kurt Cobain was. That's right, Aberdeen. Kurt Cobain, the famous Kurt Cobain. So Aberdeen near the Pacific Coast, through southern Washington to Madison, Wisconsin. I've been to Wisconsin. Parts of Wisconsin are gorgeous, man. Beautiful landscape. I've never seen anywhere else in America like that, man. They got the windmills out there on these very large estates. Man, that shit looks so fucking fresh. It looks like you're in the Swiss Alps. No bullshit. A lot of people don't know, man, what's in America because they don't travel, and if they do, they just be staying on like the touristy path. They don't ever go out and explore shit, man. I've been to more than half the United States. I've been to North Dakota, South Dakota. I've been to Minot, North Dakota, where they got the I haven't been to the military installations where they have the missile defense system. I'm talking about the Minuteman arsenal, our missile arsenal that's hidden underground. That's what's in Minot, North Dakota. I've been to Minot. Minot is cold as fuck. People, man, we got off the bus and shit because I took a Greyhound. we got off the motherfucking bus, man, and some cats were trying to light up cigarettes. That shit is cold as death. Like, there's two types of cold. There's cold, and then there's bone-chilling cold. Minot, North Dakota is bone-chilling cold. If you ain't from there and you ain't accustomed to cold, shit, be careful. I'm just saying, man, layer up. Wear you some fucking, you know what I'm saying, paratrooper gear or some shit, man. So, yo, so check this out. So, let's see, where are we? Okay, US 97 extends from Oroville, POE, that would be port of entry, Oroville, Orovill, Oroville, POE, port of entry, through Yakima and Oregon to Northern California. Used to live in Northern California. Come on, man. Your boy Grove has lived in a lot of places and been a lot of places. Where it connects to I-5. Back to I-5. US 101 is the principal highway on the Olympic Peninsula. I've been to the Olympic Peninsula as well. US 395 extends from the Laurier, that's L-A-U-R, like the name Laurie, but then the French, like I-E-R, Laurier. Some might say Laurier. POE, that's another port of entry. So that we're talking about US 395 extends from the Laurier, POE, point of entry, through Spokane and the Tri-City area to Southern California. Now we're talking about SoCal. Law enforcement officials in Washington commonly seize drugs on these highways, often as part of Operation Pipeline. Operation Pipeline initiatives. Wow. So it says, man, it goes on to say, look, I'm just gonna quote this whole thing here, man, because this is our government and we have a right to do that. Operation Pipeline is a national highway interdiction program supported by the DEA. El Paso Intelligence Center, which is abbreviated by its acronym EPIC, EPIC. So we're talking about the El Paso Intelligence Center, EPIC, EPIC. Drug seizures from private vehicles are reported to Operation Pipeline by state and local law enforcement agencies nationwide operating along highways and interstates, most frequently used to transport illegal drugs and drug proceeds. Washington has 7 international airports: Bellingham International, Grant County International in Moses Lake, William R. Fairchild International in Port Angeles. I've been to Port Angeles. I've also been to Moses Lake. Jefferson County International in Port Townsend. Seattle Tacoma, that's Seattle Tacoma. It's SeaTac. That's why they call it SeaTac. Typically, when you talk about SeaTac, you're also talking about Everett. That is the EVT. So on the news they'll say Seattle, Everett, Tacoma, because basically that's the map. I mean, 3 points up the map there in Washington. So SeaTac, Seattle Tacoma International, and Boeing Field King County International in Seattle and Spokane International. SeaTac is the primary air transportation hub for domestic and international passengers and cargo in the state. And just for y'all who don't know, people think that Seattle, man, is like, some people think Seattle's the capital of Washington State. It's Olympia. Hello, it's Olympia. It's not fucking Seattle. I mean, I'm just saying, because there's so much emphasis on Seattle from people, man, when they talk about it. And some people, they're international. They just don't know, you know what I mean? And some people forget their 50 states, from grade school. 50 states in the capitals, you know what I'm saying? So it's not Seattle. There are hundreds of cities in the state of Washington, hundreds of towns and cities. And Spokane is the second largest city in the state of Washington. Even though it's the second largest city, if you're not hip to Washington, if you don't know about Washington, as I'm putting it all into perspective for y'all, then you probably never hear about Spokane very much or at all. So people, when they find out that Spokane is actually the second largest city in the state, They're like, oh shit, that's weird. If it's the second largest city, why don't I ever hear about it? Exactly. So, so keep that in mind. All right, so then it says, hold up. Okay, so they're just talking about, okay, Seattle Port of Tacoma with more than 2.7 million 20-foot equivalent units, TEUs, of container traffic were handled by ports in the region. In 1999, the Port of Seattle handled nearly 1.5 TEUs. Again, TEUs here, they're talking about container traffic. So we're talking about the port. We're talking about container units where shit is stored and shipped overseas, right? All right, so then they go on. Okay, it says Mexican criminal groups are the dominant Mexican criminal groups are the dominant transporters of illicit drugs into Washington. Remember I was talking about the cartels, all right? I know my shit. So these groups transport wholesale amounts of methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and marijuana. I like to say marijuana. And marijuana into the state from Mexico, California, and Oregon. See, I told you Oregon is popping. But, you know, some people, they beg to differ. And then they find out that I'm right because I know this shit, man. Listen, man, I could very easily be one of these officials. Easily, man. Okay? I have the age, I have the experience, and I also work as a contractor to government. If I wanted to be one of these motherfucking officials, man, I already have all this shit memorized. Like, I already know this shit. Okay? So, I could oversee the whole shit from an oversight standpoint. Like, I could run one of these agencies, man. It'd be easy. So check this out. So, let's back up for a minute, just so that y'all, you know, imprint this information into y'all's minds so that you know. You're like, yo, man, Grove was breaking down some intel from open source, some open source intelligence information, and the way that he conveyed it and expressed it, like, man, I got a whole overview of, like, this shit. Like, what? C4CW casting 495 celebrities worldwide is popping. So check it out, though. And this is from experience because I've been to these places. So these groups translate wholesale amounts of methamphetamine, so meth, coke, heroin. Some people like to call it the heroin. So meth, coke, heroin, and weed into the state. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different things, illicit substances from Mexico, California, and Oregon. Caucasian criminal groups and local independent dealers, as well as Asian criminal groups, primarily Vietnamese, and outlaw motorcycle gangs known as OMGs, particularly Hells Angels, smuggle significant quantities of Canada-produced marijuana into State. That is Washington State. Yo, that is some ill shit. Y'all got to fucking know that at this point. That is some ill as fuck shit. So yeah, man, it goes on with some different statistics. It's talking about public health. It says here, drug-related crimes have increased in Washington. The number of arrests in the state for the manufacture, possession, or sale of illicit drugs increased each year from 13,234 in 1994, the year Bone Thugs and Harmony released that creeping on a come up, to 28,043 in 2001. Yo, that was 2001. This is 2019. Man. Shit. Oh my God. OMG. So, according to the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, the Washington State Department of Corrections reports that 21.3% of the approximately 15,000 inmates incarcerated in state correctional institutions in 2002 had drug-related crimes as their primary criminal offense. So 1/5 of 15,000 inmates, 1/5. Let's just use the Calculator here, 15,000 times simple math, 20, boom, percent equals 3,000 inmates. 3,000 inmates had drug-related crimes as their primary criminal offense. That's an entire high school and a half of motherfuckers selling dope. Possession, distribution. We're talking about if every child at a high school and half of another high school were selling D and got arrested and imprisoned for it. Like a high school and a half, everybody is in on it. Yo, that's just fucking staggering. Motherfucking staggering. So then, let's move on. According to the U.S. Sentencing Commission, USSC, in fiscal year 2001, the percentage of federal sentences in Washington that were drug-related increased, but remained lower than the national average. That was 2001. I don't think that's the case now in 2019. Just watch that video documentary, Seattle is Dying. Yeah. So, drug-related sentences represented 33.2% of all federal sentences in the state in fiscal year 2001, compared with 41.2% nationally. So basically, drug-related offenses, 1 out of every 3. Okay? Because we're talking 1/3. Simple math. The percentage of federal sentences that were drug-related in Washington increased from 28.1% in fiscal year 1997 to 33.2% in fiscal year 2001. So that's a lot of information, man. That is, hold up. Send the Soul Stealer says, this is the one I would like. Hold up. What is it? This is the one I would like for a solo track if it can be done. Hold up, Sen. I'm on podcast, bro. If it can be done already, wrote the first verse to it. I'm going to be like, excellent. Boom. All right. Just responding to Send the Soul Stealer, a.k.a. Sens Illa. You see, it's a play on words, man. For those of y'all who got this far into the podcast, it's a play on words, right? Sen is dope, man. Like, his mind is genius, like brilliant. He's a lyrical mastermind. Think about it. Send the Soul Stealer? That just sounds fucking ultra dope. And, it just does, dude. Send the Soul Stealer? Like, what? He says, I'm in my fighting monkey stance in Everett. That shit was dope. Yo, I remember when he brought, man, Sen can rock the staff, yo. Like, I'm talking like the fighting staff and the chucks, okay? And he can do the drunken fucking master shit too. So, yeah, man. Shit. We're homies, so we grew up, man. We used to spar a little bit, just playing around. You know what I'm saying? And Sen ain't no joke. You know, Sen is just my dude. You know what I mean? He says, I'm in my fighting monkey stance in Everett. Hell yeah! That's on the track, Deep in Everett 1. Yeah, so at any rate, where were we? We were talking about the dope game. And I was saying that, yeah, that's from justice.gov. Justice.gov, National Drug Intelligence Center, Washington Drug Threat Assessment, February 2003. And, yeah, we started with that. The state of Washington ranks 15th in population, with nearly 5.9 million residents. Let's see what it is now, man. That was a long time ago. From a long time ago. That's the soundtrack to Washington State population 2019. I was saying that's the soundtrack to the Karate Kid. Karate Kid.
According to population of USA 2019, population of Washington in 2019, they are as follows. 2014 minus 7.10 million. 2015 minus 7.19 million.
Yeah, but come on, computer. It's not minus. That is the number. It's a hyphen, and so she read it as minus. It's not minus. The population as of 2015 is 7.19 million. All right, so you can see the increase over the years. That was fucking 2015, and it was over 7 million. So, man, it went from 5.9 in 2013. In 12 years, man, just round it off and make it 6 million, right? So in 2013, it was 5.9. Just say it's 6. Just make it easy. 6 million people. Within a 12-year period of time, 1 million fucking additional people to the state of Washington. 1 million fucking people. If these statistics are correct, man, then that shit shows that the population increased by over 1 million over a 10 plus year period of time. That is a substantial increase, man. And I believe that they had the worst traffic in the year 2000. 2000, like last year. So if you got this far into this podcast, you have a well-rounded perspective of the drug epidemic north of California, in the Pac Northwest. That is the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, man. So the PN dub, which is the Pacific North dub, as in W, Pacific Northwest, the PN dub. Man, I need to get another Washington State Huskies like hooded sweat jacket. I used to have a dope fucking, I said dope. I used to have a dope fucking hooded sweat jacket, man, from the University of Washington with that purple W. Man, that shit is fucking fly, homie. But shit, that was when I was like 15 years old. So yeah, man, moving along. So you can see the numbers and the big data. Aight? And you can see what's going on in the Pacific Northwest. That is the Puget Sound. Also the Puget Sound. You can see what's going on, man, from this podcast as I put it into perspective for y'all. That's some terrible shit. I mean, man, that's some terrible as fuck shit. Now, man, all the gangs, all the drugs, all the cartels, all the crime, all the corruption aside, there are people who live there, man, and they live happy lives. Some of them. There are some beautiful, majestic, man, there are some parts of the Pacific Northwest that are majestic, man. They just look fucking incredible. It just looks like you're on another planet, man. The beaches, the beach fronts, the coastline, it ain't like the Atlantic coast, man. It's a different type of terrain. It's a different type of, I would say it's more inviting. It looks, I mean, depending on your artistic lens, it looks fucking fabulous, man. And, man, you know, look, I feel bad, man, for the state of Washington. You know what I'm saying? I do. Because of all of the deterioration of the fabric of society there, man, in and around Seattle and other places, man. And I hope society figures it out, man, and gets the shit together, gets it together, man. I mean, man, I already explained how it could be done. There's a program, if you watch the Seattle is Dying, if you watch that, they show you clearly, fucking clearly, I say. They show you that there is a business model, an operational, fully functional model for in terms of the opioid crisis, regarding the opioid crisis, all of the heroin that comes in to the state of Washington from Afghanistan and other places. Because some people, man, think that Afghanistan is in the Middle East. Check it out. Afghanistan, where is it located? Come on, Google, man, do your motherfucking job. Goddamn piece of shit. Where is Afghanistan located?
Afghanistan is in Asia.
You hear that? She didn't say the Middle East, did she? No, she did not. Okay? Some people are fucking ignorant. Your boy Grove knows his shit. Your boy Grove knows his shit. You see how some people be like, yeah, you know, the Taliban and that fucking war over there in the Middle East. Yeah, dude, it's not the middle motherfucking East. Get your story straight and your facts right. Okay? So, check it out. Where is Pakistan located?
Pakistan is in Asia.
Thank you very much. Southern Asia. All right? Heroin in Pakistan.
According to Wikipedia, drug addiction is defined as compulsive and out-of-control drug use, despite negative consequences.
Drug addiction in Pakistan. It says, quote, this is from Wiki. Drug addiction is defined, okay, she already said that. Drug addiction is defined as compulsive and out-of-control drug use, despite negative consequences. No shit, duh. In the last few decades, drug addiction has increased exponentially in Pakistan. Most of the illegal drugs come from the neighboring Afghanistan. You see, man? You see what the fuck I'm talking about? Okay? So, now you know, if you didn't already fucking know, and now you get it. This is intel. This is the world of intelligence that the average consumer off the streets, even those who are college educated, they don't fucking know this shit. This open source intelligence access is fucking powerful. I met this dude, man, connected with him some years ago. He's former NSA. He was at the NSA for like over 25 years. This dude was telling me, man, that because of his security clearances, his career at NSA, he wasn't allowed to use the internet at NSA. No, they couldn't use it, man. He couldn't do the open source intel shit that we do. No, because he was forbidden to access the web in his role, doing the shit that he was doing in the command center that he was in the group department outfit that he was in and with. No, man. Strict rules. They could use their own internal intranet. They could use their own interweb. Okay? But, no. Couldn't access the outside World Wide Web. Not allowed to. No, man. So the U.S. intelligence community previously had a major fucking issue. Major fucking problems. Your boy Grove knows this shit. Because I was in intelligence studies through a major university. Okay? American Military University. So, I know this shit. And not just AMU. I've worked in this shit as an intel contractor to different agencies. I've been at different 3-letter agencies, man. Because I'm like a sponge. I just absorb shit. Okay? And man, I'm doing my little small part to help make America a little bit safer. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my little itty bitty, teeny weeny, just little tiny, little micro. You know what I'm saying? My little job, man. My little tiny job. You know what I'm saying? I'm just doing my part, my role, being humble. You know what I'm saying? I'm a humble dude. I'm not a conceited guy. I'm not arrogant. I'm not conceited. I'm not egotistical, man. I'm an artist. And I'm a real artist. I actually studied art. Like, I sat in the classroom and I studied art. I know what monochromatic means. I know what hues of colors are. I used to draw. I used to paint. I know how to use pastels. I understand lighting. I understand shading. Come on, man. I was going to be a fucking artist. I used to doodle. I used to draw. I used to sketch. I used to color. I used to paint. Man, I used to draw lovely vases. That's right. Lovely vases. For those of you who don't know, I'm talking about what some of y'all might refer to as a vase. And then I was like, you know, I've been doing this art shit. Let me get a little bit more technical with it. Let me get into drafting and architecture. So the point is, man, is I come from a technical background. And then I got fully immersed into computers and in the world of computers and electronics and engineering and math and science, physics. So look, man, I've been at some different agencies, man, as a contractor. I've studied a lot of shit. I've walked around different military installations, working in legacy systems, looking at, observing, analyzing, researching, dilapidated, outmoded, antiquated computer devices and electronics devices that have been gathering dust over the decades. And I'd have to research that information, look it up, and if I could find any data on it, try to get a serial number, some type of code, some type of information, and see if the device can be powered on, see if it worked, operated, functioned properly, and if not, how to resolve that, how to mitigate that, come up with the solution type shit. So look, man, I'm just saying, some people who work in intelligence, historically, they haven't had access to open source intelligence. So they're not seeing the bigger picture the way that we're able to see the bigger picture with open source intelligence information. You see? So that being said, let me tell you what I know about 9/11. On 9/11, man, when that shit happened, I said, fuck it, I'm going to the East Coast, man. I'm about to go, man, balls to the fucking wall. I'm gonna do everything that I can, man, to climb the ladder, man, to come up in the food chain, man, to rise up and to meet with and connect with as many people as I can in the U.S. federal government. I'm gonna do every fucking type of operation that I can to get my security credentials. I hired an attorney who specializes in national security background investigations. I went to OPM, the Office of Personnel Management. You know what I'm saying? I took the ASVAB test, even though I didn't join the military. I still took the test and was told that I had one of the highest scores and that it qualified me for any and all manner of special operations, military, anything. They said anything that I would have wanted to do in the military had I decided to join the military, that I qualified for anything and everything in the military, that I basically had my choice. It wasn't guaranteed, but I qualified for it. So, and I did that in the nation's capital before I moved the operation out here to New York. I did that shit, man, like close to 15 years ago. So, that being said, man, I read the documents regarding 9/11. Mole traders inside our government, they had advanced warning, knowledge, information, intel. The FBI said that it had someone in one of the Al-Qaeda cells and was monitoring the situation, and they told Colleen Raleigh to stand down. It doesn't have any fucking thing to do with the Israeli Mossad. No. The Mossad and the Israelis had intel on Al-Qaeda. Of course they did. And of course they knew, like we did, the U.S., America, we knew that terrorists were attempting to crash planes, fly planes into the World Trade Center towers. We fucking knew that shit. They told us that they were going to fucking do it. They told our government that that's what their plan was and that they wouldn't stop until they accomplished that goal. So, yeah, Israeli knew in advance just like we fucking did. The sick motherfucking thing about it is that you have piece of shit pro-Hamas, pro-Al-Qaeda, pro-ISIS, pro-terrorists, pro-terrorism motherfuckers who they want to pin it on Israel. They want to play it off and pretend as if Israel had something to do with it so that they can spite us, that is America. So they played up this whole narrative that Israel was involved. The Israeli Mossad didn't have any motherfucking thing to do with 9/11, and it would not be in their best interest, and it doesn't even make any fucking sense. Totally illogical. It's an absolute fucking farce. The whole thing is farcical. It's apocryphal. It's bullshit. Total fucking nonsense. And it's an insane, lunatic fucking conspiracy theory. That shit is absolutely fucking preposterous. And I'm just keeping it fucking 100. So, 100. So, mole traders in our government, the likes of James Comey, Robert Mueller. Look, man, these people, they're fucking liars and they're perpetrators and they don't give a shit about America. These motherfuckers are un-American. They're abusers of power. They've lived a life of privilege inside the FBI in that they were given the torch that was passed to them by J. Edgar Hoover, and they know, at least they believe, that they can get away with fucking anything. They saw and experienced corruption all around them at the FBI at the highest levels, and they became disenchanted, disillusioned, disgruntled. And you know what, man? Shit. Those motherfuckers, they're butthurt, man, because they ain't at CIA. And CIA has all the fucking real secrets. CIA doesn't want to work with FBI. You know why? Because CIA knows what the FBI is. There will never be any real true fucking trust between the Bureau and the agency. Ever. Nah, man, because CIA knows, and I'm not saying that the men and women who work at FBI who mean well, I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about men and women who work at the FBI who mean well. I will assist them if they need my assistance and want it. If there's a way that I can help them to help keep America safe, I will provide them intel if I know that they are legit and they're not on the side of motherfuckers like Comey and whomever. Okay? Deep state actors is what I'm talking about and who I'm referring to. I'm talking about a circle within the FBI. I'm talking about mole traitor motherfuckers like James Comey, people involved in treason. James Comey doesn't give a fucking shit about America. None whatsoever. Not at all. Okay? We're talking about a motherfucker who is pathological. You know, people like to, paint these pictures of Donald Trump and all these mischaracterizations. Oh, he's a big baby and he's really just a toddler in a man's body, blah, blah, blah. Goddamn motherfucking James Comey is a fucking sociopath, man, in my professional opinion. Absolutely fucking sociopathic. The shit he did was not only un-American, man, it was fucking treasonous, period. They locked up Jonathan Pollard, man. They gave him life in fucking prison. Yeah, he got out, but they gave him life. Dude, look at how much time they gave Chelsea Manning for leaking intel. Look how much time she got. Yeah, it was commuted by another fucking traitor. That's right, Barack Hussein Obama. Just another fucking traitor. Sellout. Tried to sell us out to the Iranians. $150 billion approximately of U.S. currency and shit. Just a motherfucking sellout, man. Doing business with a rogue regime, Iran. So when you put it all together and you put it into perspective, man, James Comey is not a fucking nice guy. He didn't just make a little mistake. He did it intentionally, knowingly, willfully, deliberately, purposefully. That shit is domestic fucking terrorism. The same mentality, the same type of motherfucker that knew that 9/11 was going to happen, and he's like, oh, what, some planes are going to crash into a building? I don't give a fuck, man. Fuck the United States government.